Hey, it's Kyle, and happy Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. For this special occasion, I thought it'd be fun to kind of explore some of my favorite Star Wars things, from movies, characters, TV, moments in my life, just anything Star Wars related. I thought it'd be fun to kind of explore what my favorite aspects are of the Star Wars universe. I thought the best place to start are the movies, just because that's what started everything Star Wars. First off, I'll acknowledge, I think Empire Strikes Back is the best Star Wars movie, but it's not my favorite movie. And usually when I say something's my favorite, especially in regard to movies, it's something in regard to that franchise that I enjoy rewatching the most. And for me, that is Return of the Jedi. Of all the Star Wars movies, that's the one I've seen the most. I love rewatching that movie so much. I think it's because there's so much non-stop action. Where like Empire Strikes Back, for example, if I flip around, it's on TV, and it's a slower part, I go, oh, okay, this is really great, but it might not hook me immediately as if I'm flipping through the TV and like, oh, the Battle of Endor is starting, or Han is being rescued from Jabba's palace. And so it's just like, Return's nonstop. I enjoy that movie so much, love it. So by far my favorite, Empire Strikes Back. Probably a close second, but like I said, I do acknowledge I think Empire Strikes Back is the better made movie. Return of the Jedi, my favorite Star Wars movie of all time. Next up, because if you watch the show, you know I am a huge Star Wars book nerd, so I thought it was appropriate to kind of acknowledge my favorite Star Wars book and my favorite Star Wars author. I'll do it at the same time. And that is, first book is Star Wars Heir to the Empire, and it's written by my favorite Star Wars author, Timothy Zahn. This is not a controversial opinion. I think this is probably most people's favorite Star Wars book. This is really the book that really made all their Star Wars books possible. It also introduced so many amazing characters. I know it's the only Star Wars book I've ever seen make lists of when they name, like, here's the 100 best sci-fi books of all time. I actually see this book make it. It's just such an amazing Star Wars book. Cannot say how much I love this book. I mean, it's just amazing. I've reread this book so many times. Love it. I'm actually due to reread it. It's been a couple years since I've reread it. I really want to reread it again. If you've never read Heir to the Empire, highly recommend it. Timothy Zahn is such an amazing author. He understands Star Wars so well. Yeah. Nothing but positive things to say about these two things. Next up, kind of wanted to kind of go off that and then kind of like my favorite Star Wars character of all time. And it is from the books, Thrawn, who is a character introduced in Heir to the Empire. Up until some of the animated stuff, he had never been anything other than the books. So for most people, they're not really familiar with him. Obviously, he was teased in the last season of The Mandalorian, so I expect we'll see a live-action version of Thrawn very, very soon, and I'm very excited for that. Not only to see my favorite Star Wars character of all time in live action, but I'm also excited for so many more casual Star Wars fans to be introduced to this amazing character. I know a lot of times, a lot of my friends and casual acquaintances will quickly find out that I'm a Star Wars fan, and one of the most common questions I get, well, who's your favorite character? And I usually have to preface this, well, my favorite character is probably somebody you've never heard of before because he's mainly in the books. And I have to explain their Star Wars books, and I'll say my favorite character is Grand Admiral Thrawn. I'm so looking forward to the day that I can just say, oh, have you seen the latest Star Wars series on Disney Plus? That character, Thrawn, he is my favorite Star Wars character, and let me tell you why. He is such an amazing character. I love him so much. The more Thrawn in Star Wars, the better. So Thrawn's definitely my favorite Star Wars character. Next up, kind of related, since I just talked about content on Star Wars on Disney Plus, I thought I'd touch on my favorite Star Wars series, and this will be live action and animated. And for me, I had to go with The Mandalorian. It was a close call with The Clone Wars, but The Mandalorian I just love so much, especially the second season. I think the second season is probably my favorite season of a Star Wars TV series. And I think the only reason I picked it over the Clone Wars is I didn't watch Clone Wars until a few years ago. I didn't watch when it first came out. Actually, when it was coming out, I think I was in college maybe, so I just never got around to it. And it's one of those things like, oh, I'll get to it at some point. I just never did. And luckily, with the advent of Disney Plus, that's when I binged through the Clone Wars and caught up. But since I think I watched it later in life, I don't have that same nostalgia that if I'd watched it when it first came out. I'd already kind of heard about some of the stuff, already kind of knew some of the general stuff. So I think it was, in some ways, it was spoiled a little bit for me because I just had it. I didn't have that same passion I think you get with something when you discover it when it first comes out. But it's very close second. And some of my favorite Star Wars stuff ever on TV is definitely the Clone Wars. But at least for me personally, The Mandalorian is so amazing. There's a couple episodes here and there that didn't do it for me, but for the most part, The Mandalorian has been amazing. Everything from the characters to the planets it's exploring, to delving more into Mandalorian culture, to obviously Grogu, as you see right here. Music, they've been just knocking everything out of the park with The Mandalorian. It has made me so excited to see where that series goes, and obviously I'm excited that series could be bringing in Thrawn into the live action realm, brought in Ahsoka, all this amazing stuff. The Mandalorian is something I enjoy so much. Now I'll say, The Mandalorian is so early in its run. Maybe if the later seasons are not quite as good, the Clone Wars could vault ahead and become my favorite series because The Mandalorian is not able to maintain the same level of awesomeness that it has done for the first 2 seasons. But I'm optimistic. I think The Mandalorian is going to keep going strong. So that is my favorite TV series, live action or animated. Next up, I kind of wanted to touch on what my favorite thing that Star Wars is currently doing now that I would like people to check out. And that is another book-related thing, but it's also, they're doing it in comics. They've done some audio plays and stuff like that, and that is the High Republic series, which just wrapped up phase 1. They're going to do 3 phases. The first book in the High Republic series is The Light of the Jedi. This is the first book I've ever read in Star Wars that nearly dethroned Heir to the Empire as my favorite Star Wars book of all time. In fact, that's one reason why I want to reread Heir to the Empire again, and then I'm going to reread this book and kind of decide which do I like better. Because A Lot of the Jedi is amazing. The High Republic series has been mind-blowingly good so far. The first phase has been nearly perfection. I'm so excited for the phase 2 that comes out later this year. If you have not explored the High Republic series yet, get on board. It is absolutely amazing. You're missing the boat if you haven't explored this. I know when they first announced it, I was a little skeptical. Typically, I haven't really been that interested in Star Wars stuff that looked more towards the past. I was more like, I would like to do stuff either concurrent with like the stories they're telling, like with stuff like The Mandalorian, kind of the movie time period, or forward. I was never really that interested in like stuff like the Old Republic. It just wasn't something that really interested me that much. So when the High Republic was announced, I was like, I'll get the first book, read it. I doubt I'll like it, and that'll be the end of it. Honestly, within the first chapter, I was hooked. I was like, Disney, here's my money. I'll buy every single book you put out in this series. It is amazing. So check out the High Republic series. Light of the Jedi, the first book by Charles Soule. And then last thing I kind of wanted to touch on was kind of my favorite Star Wars moment in my life. And this is something that just happened last year at Dragon Con here in Atlanta. I was honored to be on several Dragon Con Star Wars panels last year, which was awesome in itself. But the highlight of Dragon Con for me for sure, and now my favorite Star Wars moment in my life, my favorite Star Wars memory, however you want to phrase it, is I got to be on a panel with Timothy Zahn talking about Thrawn and what that character is, where he'll be going in the future, all that stuff. Just the fact I got to sit next to Timothy Zahn would probably be my highlight of my life for Star Wars stuff. But the fact I actually got to be on the panel and actually talk about my opinions in regard to Thrawn and what I loved about him and stuff, sitting right next to the guy that created him was amazing. I got to take a selfie with him. He signed a copy of my books. Everything about that panel was just amazing. He was such a nice guy, so considerate. When the panel wrapped up, not surprisingly, most people in the panel were asking questions to Timothy Zahn, not myself and the other fan member of the panel. After the panel was over, he apologized to me and the other person on the panel, saying like, "Hey, I'm sorry I talked so much. I should have gave more time for y'all to talk." And me and the other person was like, "No, what are you apologizing for? Everybody in this room was here to hear you. They could care less about us. We were just here to add a few sentences there and there. No need to apologize." By some person, that was the type of person he was, that he felt bad he had talked a lot on the panel when everybody was there to hear him. He didn't have to say anything, but the fact he did say that just, made me even a bigger fan of Timothy Zahn. So that is my favorite Star Wars moment in my life. I don't know what more to say about that. It was just amazing. So anyway, so I hope all the Star Wars fans out there has an amazing May the 4th. I know I'm going to a local barcade in the city I work. They're having a Star Wars Day celebration all day. They're doing all sorts of fun stuff. So I'm going there after work, have some Star Wars related fun, and celebrate May the 4th. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have yet, please hit that like button. Please subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate the support. I'll see you the next time, and may the Force be with you.